herb. Herb is a plant. I mean, herbs are good for everything. Herb.
Welcome to Eugene Cannabis TV. We have a special guest tonight. We have Dennis here from the White Stone Foundation. Welcome.
How you doing, Dan?
Great, thank you. Yep, you got Dan here, and we're talking about the Peter's Church of the Holy Oil. Next get-together is coming up on June 22nd. So that's on Friday of this week from 7 to 8. So tell us a little bit about what you're up to and what you're doing.
Well, basically what we're talking about, slightly little different twist on the medical aspect, is like Will and I were talking about in another segment, that the people that think that marijuana is a sacrament look more at the spiritual aspect of it, and then the physical healing part of it is already there. We know that. But what we're trying to say here is educating people, because few people know that actually the laws are already in place that allow for the sacramental use of cannabis in religious settings. And basically that comes from the book of Exodus, where a woman named Shula Bennett did some research on the book of Exodus, chapter 30, verse 22 to 33, and found out that what it says there is, the Lord said to Moses, take the following fine spices, 500 shekels of liquid myrrh, half as much of fragrant cinnamon, 250 shekels of cannabosum, 500 shekels of cassia, all according to the sanctuary shekel, and a hind, about 6 liters, of olive oil, costly olive oil. Make these into a sacred anointing oil. Well, it turns out that this woman did this research because there was this, they said mistranslation, but when you read deeper, you find out actually they changed the words in the Aramaic and in the Hebrew Bible and put this, a word that it's a weed that grows all over the Middle East around marshes. So this woman tried to figure out, why is this great anointing oil have this really low-class, bogus weed in it? So she did some research and found out that before a certain date, actually the words properly translated, there's several different proper translations in the Hebrew. One of them is cannabosum, but another one is K-A-N-N-A-B-U-S, cannabis. So what we have there is the legal federal statement from a religion that cannabis has been used as a religious sacrament. So that entitles every person of Jewish and Christian persuasion, and there may be even people that they're proselytizing to use cannabis as a sacrament. And what it says is that the priests were to go, I think I read that they were supposed to go into the temple, and that they would put this oil into censers, which would smoke the room out, put it on the altar, and then drench their bodies in it and wait to hear from God. Well, if it's good enough for God and the Jews, it should be good enough for us. And our laws, actually, called the Religious Reformation Act, a federal law that was enacted that allows the southwestern Indians to use peyote in their religious services, and some Brazilian folks use I guess it's called Hosquavarna or something like that, I'm not really familiar, but they use this tea, it's a psychoactive substance, in Brazil in their religious ceremonies. He was using this substance in a prison, got arrested, and then won the right to use that substance and to import it for their religious practices into America. This was in 2008. So we are entitled, those laws are already in place. The only thing that is keeping people from being able to use this is the fact that we don't know that, and that we haven't band together into a church and made a statement to the government that says you're violating our religious rights here. So that's basically what we're trying to do, is inform people that, hey, kids, it's already there. And then I've been writing to DeFazio, Congressman DeFazio, and to the governor and to the attorney general. And nobody's come out and said flat out, oh, we think this is a good idea. But what it does is it opens up a whole hemp industry for Oregon. And Oregon, like all the other states, we need income, we need economy. And maybe most folks probably know it, but there's 3, 6, 9 oils in hemp seed. There's human quality protein in hemp seed. You can make clothes and paper. We can cut trees in the forest less. We can get the forest people to make money off of growing this stuff so that they don't lose their jobs. It's just really one of those win-win situations for Oregon.
You mentioned Attorney General. Attorney General of the state of Oregon, now we got a new one coming in, a lady.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, and Ellen Rosenblum, and she is a pro-medical marijuana.
Ah.
And she's filling out the remaining term of the present Attorney General, Kroger, and then in November there'll be an election, and they're going to have basically a token Republican running against Ellen, but we think that Ellen is going to be pretty much a shoo-in. So anyway, hopefully permanently we'll have a Attorney General that believes in medical marijuana, so hopefully she might be open to.
Well, it's the law.
Yeah,
that's our point. An
she might be open to the law.
Exactly.
Being a lawyer, she might be open to it. That'd be unique, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it? On our side, yes. The laws are already there. So what we would be doing is just asking her to do her job. That's all we're asking the government to do. The laws are already there. We're entitled to this. We don't want a big protest. We don't need a big vote. They're already there. And we can just move ahead, like I said, with this hemp industry.
Yeah. And again, the next meeting is coming up this Friday on the 22nd. And read that right there where it says the series of, because you get down to here and I probably can't pronounce those. So run that through for me. I want people to know what you've written there and what it's about. Okay,
well, with the help of the Church of the Holy Oil, we're presenting a series of talks on what was Jesus really talking about. And it says, from time to time, spiritual science needs to be represented in the jargon or the words of in the cultural context familiar with the people that are alive at the time. Because what happens is over time, because Tibetans and Chinese people think differently, and Jews, and they just think differently. So the terminology is different. So we need to know the meaning behind the words that Jesus was talking about, and he doesn't sound so weird then when we understand what he was really talking about. So over the years we're presenting a comparative religion study basically between the Bible, Bhagavad Gita, and what's called Vajrayana Buddhism, with references to modern psychology and science. And we kind of stir up the pot and show in modern terms, what is really sacrament? What does it do? What is a blessing? We've heard these words, many of us have gone to church, but how does it really work to bring true happiness and peace of mind? What is going on there?
And the parallels in modern psychology, which has caught my eye, that's
because a lot of these techniques have re-evolved independently in modern terms. So if we can draw that bridge between, then we say, wait a minute, this stuff has been around for thousands of years. This has got to work. We just misunderstood it because it was in words and culture that were foreign to us. But once you get what it really means, it's called getting more love and showing it.
Yeah, that's great.
And who can be against that?
Yeah, so that's great. At 7 to 8 p.m. Friday, June 22nd at Sunset Hills, 4810 Willamette Street. So that's be a great, become enlightened.
Yeah,
happy. It sounds good to me. And
full of love.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate Dennis for coming in
I
and telling us
appreciate you guys for doing this. Everybody's working so hard.
You bet. Dennis will be back on other shows to tell us more about, educate us more on this. And so it's fascinating. They say God's laws, man, or over, what do you call it, or over man's laws. God's laws are over man's laws.
Yes.
And so that's the argument that we need to be making, you know. So.
And God's ultimate law is love.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah.
Simple idea.
Yeah. It's real simple. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Okay, we're going to wrap up. We appreciate it. So we're out of here, and we'll see you next segment.
And now a message from the American Marijuana Growers Association.
Hi, I'm a farmer, and I work hard every day to grow high-quality marijuana, the biggest cash crop in these United States. I'd like to thank you for your support of U.S. marijuana policy. Because marijuana is illegal, I don't have to pay taxes. Even better, prohibition leads to artificially inflated prices, which means a better quality of life for me and my family, as long as I don't get caught. Just as importantly, your tax dollars support thousands of U.S. agents who work tirelessly to keep low-grade, foreign marijuana out of our country. So thank you, America. And remember, whether you're nauseated from chemotherapy or just in the mood for a nice cool buzz, choose the best pot in the world, American homegrown.
Welcome to Eugene Cannabis TV. You made the trip. You got my friend Reverend Will here. You got DanK on this end, and we've got a couple of stories to talk about. Mainly, right now, I want to cover the initiatives in the state of Oregon. We've got about 3 weeks to go on the campaign. Both initiatives are within close enough they might make it. It's close for both of them, but I want to talk briefly about OCTA, the Oregon Cannabis Taxation Act. That's initiative number 9. They turned in almost 108,000 unverified signatures. However, about 59% of the signatures were accepted for verification, so they lost a lot of them there. They've tightened up their campaign and trying to get better signatures. I-24, they turned in a little over 122,000. Their percentage is 54%. So they're both fairly low, and that's one of the problems with paid petitioners is because they don't, generally they're getting paid to what they're doing, and I don't know, somehow it gets a high, that valid rate can really mess you up, and that's what both of them are having troubles with. So anyway, the point is that they're both real close, and if you see the initiative out there, sign it. If you would like to help gather signatures, you can get a hold of both campaigns. You can go to the Oregon's Cannabis Taxation Act.org, and the other one is endprohibitionagain.org. I love that. End Prohibition Again, that's a great website. So if you're working that, Oregon could be the 3rd state to have a legalization initiative on the ballot in November, so we're hoping. But this is a really upsetting story. This came out of Los Angeles. The second medical marijuana patient denied transplant in the LA hospital. And Will has a friend that's going through this right now, so this is real close to Will.
Well, for me, my friend here has been on dialysis for 25 years. Now, this lady here has been on 5 years, and usually it's 2 to 5 years that people are able to be on this and survive. And part of that's because they have no appetite. So my friend has asked and questioned and tried to bring to point the fact that while he stands there and watches all of his friends come and go through, or all people that he meets and gets to become friends with, and then they die in a short period of time, the only thing that he's doing different than other people is that he uses marijuana to create and stimulate his appetite. Now, why is that a crime? I mean, understand, right now we have this person here who has problems with her liver and her kidney, and she's being told that she can't be on the transplant list anymore because she has marijuana in her system. So now she's having to go to drug and alcohol classes, as well as be 6 months clean which could have more of a devastating effect on her survival than anything else that she's doing. You know, this goes right back to cancer and all the people who are trying to make this money up for cancer so that they can do research, and they're researching in the wrong area. They need to be researching in the marijuana area, and it's really disgusting and deplorable to think that the federal government would consciously choose not to support people in being able to take care of themselves. So there's two people, Norman Smith and, sorry, the lady's name is Trujillo. And between the two of them, they've just been denied and are making them go through drug classes. I mean, it's almost hard, it's almost too much for me to talk about. My friend Philip has been battered back and forth, but bantered back and forth basically between Salem and here. And it has to do with people putting up with him, trying to get support for his right to save his life. So anybody who really cares, please, you know, my thing right now is a constitutional amendment. If there's any lawyers out there who happen to be listening, I would really like to know if this is true. What I was told is the federal government has to have a constitutional amendment to override a state law. If that's true, I want to know why all you lawyers have been sitting on your thumbs out there not doing anything to get us our basic right of having the state be in control of what happens with us and our medicine, and the federal government just backing off. Okay? So, I mean, other than that, I really can't think of anything else to say other than for all of those who have family and friends who are dying because they're not able to talk to their doctors about the medications that they take, which are beneficial for them because they're being told to take prescription medication. Well, you know, I wish you well, but I can't do it alone, and you're not helping me because you don't believe that I want this as a medicine, spiritually and physically, instead of just getting high.
Yeah, it says here that this patient, Tony, how do you pronounce
Trujillo?
that? Trujillo. She told her doctor that she was using medical marijuana to stimulate her appetite, and she had no negative feedback. She continued to use medical marijuana while waiting for her transplant. Then in April, after being on a waiting list for 6 years, she was told over the phone that she had been delisted because her medical marijuana use was considered substance abuse. She was never sent a formal delisting letter confirming her status. Denying necessary transplants to medical marijuana patients is the worst kind of discrimination, said ASA Chief Counsel Joe Elford, who authored a letter to Cedars-Sinai urging the hospital to reconsider. Cedars-Sinai would not be breaking any laws, federal or otherwise, by granting Tony Trujillo a kidney transplant, and it's certainly the ethical thing to do. So it's...
And then they talk about Norman because he also, Norman Smith, who was a medical marijuana patient, was diagnosed with inoperable liver cancer in 2009. Smith's oncologist at Cedars-Sinai, Dr. Stephen Miles, approved of his medical marijuana use as a means to deal with the effects of chemotherapy. But Smith was removed from the liver transplant list in 2011 because of medical marijuana, just 2 months before he would have been eligible. Last week, Smith was told he had 90 days to live. ASA also sent a letter on Smith's behalf. Thank you, ASA. We really do honor you for all that you do, Joe Alford. You're an incredible human being. We wish you all the best. And understand, folks, for me, I honor Dan for being able to read the first part of this because I was so offended and affected by it that I just had to talk around it. I couldn't really talk about that kind of straight up abuse, you know, because to me, I don't know how our medical system allows it to go on.
Yeah, it's quite disgusting. These kind of things that keep me motivated and keep me going, though, because it's fighting for the rights, you know. So, anyway, we're going to wrap it up. We appreciate Reverend Will coming in again, and stick around, folks. We got some more on the show, so we'll be back.
Here we are again. We are here at Cannabis TV, Eugene's Cannabis TV. If you go to YouTube, that's the title that you want to put in there, Eugene Cannabis TV. Here, we're behind Sheldon High School and ready to rock and roll. My friend Dennis and I, We're both ministers of different churches, but with similar belief systems. And for myself, I'd just like to let you know that our church is basically based on doing service. And so in this process, we care enough to be doing a service where we're out here standing up in front of God and everyone saying that marijuana is a spiritually active substance which helps us to be attuned with our Creator in a way that allows us to be in our highest light. And so for us, we just go around and take care of each other, and hopefully eventually this will grow to a point where if everyone's taking care of everyone, everyone will be taken care of. No dogma, don't care what you believe, because that's between you and your Creator. And from there, it's a matter of supporting you in your belief system and doing what we can to make a better world.
Well, after a few years of studying myself, that's the conclusion I come to. After all the arguing about how many angels can dance on the head of a pin, it comes down to showing the love for your brother by what you do. I mean, it's really kind of a simple, all the different religions that I've studied, that's really what it comes down to. And I really want to, you know, I was listening to your talk before, and it really does get disheartening. You just can't imagine how some people are so insensitive to other people's suffering. And I stumbled on this research the other day because we're talking about the medical situation. Our whole medical profession and insurance system and everything in America is just falling apart. Well, if you do a little research on a group called IG Farben, it turns out that they are a German pharmaceutical company, conglomerate, that now owns Bayer, Merck, Squibb, most of the major pharmaceutical companies in the world. And it turns out, if you read another book called The CIA's Greatest Hits by Mark Zeppenpower, I think it is, you find out that before the war was even over, high-level Nazis surrendered to the OSS, that was the CIA at the time, and bought their way out of trouble with all the gold and the art and everything that they'd stole from German banks and people in Germany. Some of them actually came over here and started working with the AMA with the research that they got from freezing Jews and burning people and all the so-called research that they did. Well, one of the other things they did was destabilize other governments for Hitler's regime to be able to move in their countries. And if we take a step back, you got to ask yourself the question, what are these people doing? Is that IG Farben coming in here and making such craziness out of our health system, literally bringing down our country to its knees, creating all this dissension over this little weed, dividing our country? Is this something that somebody's doing, or is it just, it's hard to believe, but there are these people that are capable of these mass manipulations of people. And I think sometimes that's the only answer that the average person can't really accept, that there's actually a plan behind this by some very, you can't call them anything else but evil people that have designs on the whole world. So that makes a lot of sense out of it to me, because I just, it's just unbelievable sometimes.
You know, for myself, I don't believe in good and evil, so it's a little different for myself in this process. It's all about learning the lesson in the moment, and either you learn the lesson or you don't learn the lesson. I mean, right now, the way we're being abused here in this country is the same way that things started out in those wars and the things that you're talking about, where people like myself and yourself are going, excuse me, we're being discriminated against here. Do you understand that we're not supposed to work? Do you understand we're not supposed to drive? Do you understand that we can't do our medicine in public, which means if we go in public and we actually have an attack or something and we really need our medicine, we can't do it unless we can get home or out of public view. Now, you know, this is the same kind of thing that was going on when people were going knock, 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 coming to your door, grabbing you and throwing you away and taking you to a prison and stuff. And you're going, excuse me, did you see the guy got taken away the other day? Oh, yeah, wasn't that terrible? Well, look, here they come.
That was terrible.
You know, they're coming after you now.
That's
So,
the way
I mean,
works.
it's the same thing. We don't have a right to create in our own states without having the permission of the feds. Excuse me, you feds, you work for me.
That's
Okay,
Article
I'm sorry.
4, Section 4 of the Constitution, actually.
Right, so understand in this process, you're fired. You know,
We have the
drop
right
your
to do
shit,
that.
Get out of here, you know,
Yes.
because you're not paying attention to what the people are saying. Yet at the same time, we do a lot of the same things that we point fingers at other people for doing, and that's consuming and consuming recklessly and trying to get to a sedated point in our lives instead of a point where we're aware, which is one of the things that as a member of the Church of the Caring, it's one of the things that we talk about is making sure that you have clean glass, making sure that when you're sharing with people, you make sure that they get a green hit, because you don't need to hit the whole bowl. You don't have to show off to me, you know, I'm still not 10
That's
or 12
not sharing
or
your
13.
love, yeah.
Well, you know, that's the bottom line, and it goes back to one of the things you were talking about with sacraments. To me, when I talk about sacraments, I also talk about rituals and how life is one continuous ritual.
Yeah.
When you decide for yourself that you are totally accountable and responsible for yourself 24/7 in every interaction that you do, continuously across the board, you have input into every one of those things because you have accepted accountability for allowing it to get to the point where it's at, manifesting badly. So in the process, we just try to set an example by caring enough that we pick this to show where we have the most reverence in how we interact with our plant, which is our sacrament. As growing up Catholic, watching the priest clean the plates and do everything else in order to make sure that this was given the highest respect. It's the same thing I do with this plant, and I also try to incorporate that in everything else I do in my life.
Yeah.
So I see you doing that. I see you working to make the difference, and I really appreciate all that you do. And I'm looking forward to, you know, your kitchen being able to open up and being able to feed people. And
But you're always invited,
work.
you know that? You know.
just need to know when it's happening.
Yeah.
And
Everyone's
we did know
invited,
that. What was the
actually.
date on that this Friday? The
22nd, yeah, at 7 o'clock.
Okay, so if you get a chance, where would that be?
Up at, I keep wanting to say Sunny Acres, but it's Sunset Hills.
Sunset Hills.
Sunset Hills, yeah.
Okay, and time?
7 to 8.
There you go.
Something to
Thanks,
do.
folks. We appreciate
Thank
you
you very
being
much.
here, and we'll talk to you again soon.